Pallavi? Pallavi?
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sir.
Good morning, madam. This is Jeevan Jyoti, HOD, Chemistry and Forensic.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you, ma'am?
Fine, ma'am. How are you, ma'am?
I'm good, ma'am.
So, ma'am, we'll start at 10 o'clock.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. No,
Okay.
no problem. Huh.
Okay.
They are basically postgraduate students.
Means even UG students are also there, ma'am.
Okay, fine.
We have only BSc in our college, ma'am. And PG
Acha,
chemistry students have joined. And from even other colleges also, the participants are present.
Okay.
Madam, good morning, ma'am. This is Pallavi.
Good morning, ma'am.
Pallavi,
Madam.
which profile I have to make you co-host? Because there are two names. M. Pallavi, RBVR and Zaina Krishna. Which one?
I want two, madam.
Two. Okay, right. Sujana joined?
She's joining, ma'am. I've called her.
You can share the screen, Pallavi.
Yes, madam, doing.
Data.
జాయిన్ అయినావా వెబినార్ రా చేస్తా నేను అన్న క్యాబ్ లో అసలు టిఫిన్ కూడా వచ్చేంత లేకుండా నైట్ నుంచి ఎట్లా ఇక మధ్యాహ్నం నుంచి నాకు కడుపు అవుతుంది చదువుకుంటాం అన్న కూడా వ్యవసాయం ఫోన్ వచ్చింది మరి ఫోన్ లో చదువుతుంది మా పిల్లలతో వీడియో చూస్తుంది ఆ పిల్లలు చదువుతుంది వీడియో
Girls, please unmute yourself. Sorry, mute yourself.
Video. Hello, Pallavi. Good morning.
Sir, good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining.
Good
Joining.
morning, sir. Good morning, sir. This is Jyoti.
Okay. Has
Good
she
morning,
come? Astha, madam.
Yes, sir. She joined, sir.
Okay.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Okay, fine. Pallavi, are you starting now?
Yes, sir. Of course. In a minute, we'll start, sir.
Can I introduce her?
Yes, sir. Of course. It's a privilege.
Yeah. This
Good morning, sir.
I will do. Good morning. Hello, Naru.
Dr.Astha.
Requesting all the participants to be on mute. Pallavi, you just mute them. Pallavi, I think somebody shared the screen.
I have only shared none.
Because the brochure is not visible to us. Yeah, now it is. Okay, you can share that brochure. So shall we start now, Pallavi?
Yes, madam. Of course, we can start now.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, you can start recording also. It is paused.
It's done, madam.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Department of Chemistry and Forensic Science, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our guest speaker and to all the participants to this one-day national webinar on narcotic drugs. And I would like to specially invite Professor D.R. Baghi sir, who is the main person in handling, in organizing this webinar. Today is marked as International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, which is also called as World Drug Day. So this day is commemorated every year to strengthen action and cooperation in achieving a world free of drug abuse. So today we have with us the eminent resource person, Dr. Astha Pandey, Associate Professor, NDPS, CELK, National Forensic Science University, Gujarat. Thank you, Madam, for accepting our invitation to address the participants in this national webinar. And I would like to invite Professor T.R. Baghi sir to invite the guest speaker. And also I would like to thank Baghi sir for arranging this lecture. Without you, this wouldn't have been possible, sir. Thank you so much from all the members of the Department of Chemistry. Sir, you can introduce Madam.
Okay. Thank you, Madam and Pallavi, for giving me this opportunity. I am very glad to and privileged to introduce my old associate, Dr. Astha Pandey, who is a Telangana Bidda. In fact, she was born and brought up in Mancherial, and then she came to Hyderabad and did her BSc from Avanti College. Then from Sagar University, she did her MSc and returned to Hyderabad to join us at the Usmania University Forensic Science Department as assistant professor. And she worked almost for 8 years with us in Usmania University and has contributed immensely to the development of Forensic Science Department at Usmania University. Later, for better prospects, he joined as assistant professor at Gujarat Forensic Science University, which later was upgraded to as a central university of national importance. And after serving for a couple of years, she was promoted as associate professor in forensic science and mostly chemistry related. And she has been made the in charge of the NDPS cell, which recently has been started at the Central University, the National University, as it is called now, National Forensic Science University. She has a good amount of experience. Initially, she was more doing work in the biology part of forensic science, but later she changed the track and did her PhD in Gujarat under the able guidance of present Vice Chancellor Sri J.M. Vas, who is now Vice Chancellor. Under his guidance, she did her PhD, and she continued her research work, and she has got about 7 research scholars working with her. A number of them have already got PhDs. We are very proud of association with her in her initial career, and I know her as a young, dynamic person, and there will be no better person than her to address today's one-day program on narcotic drugs. I request Dr. Astha to start the presentation. Thank you so much. Welcome again.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful introduction. It's a matter of great pride and pleasure for me that a pioneer in forensic science is introducing me. And it was really working good with you. And I think you are a role model for most of the forensic students and teachers, faculties, and others for, bringing out the systematic development and genuinely working towards the development of forensic science. I would also like to thank Principal of Reddy College and Head of the Department of Reddy College for giving me an opportunity to speak on the narcotic drugs. I, Dr. Astha Pandey, I am basically heading the Center of Excellence for Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances, which is at Gandhinagar, Gujarat. As you all know that this Center of Excellence is mainly established to cater the needs of the law enforcement agencies in the testing, in the development of the kits, in the research work, in the research work of the narcotic drugs and the psychotropic substances, and as well as imparting training to the various law enforcement agencies. I would also like to inform on this platform that we are also offering hands-on training to the students of post-graduation as well as graduation on the various instrumental techniques which can be used for the detection of the narcotic drugs and for the other evidences which are mainly received in the forensic chemistry division. Now, I would, before I start my presentation, I would like to share a video which is on COE narcotic drugs, and this video will give you an insight as to what exactly we are doing at the Center of Excellence.
Ma'am, you are sharing the screen.
Hello?
Ma'am, are you sharing the screen, ma'am?
Yeah, video is already playing. You are not able to see?
Yes, ma'am, we are not able to hear as well as to see.
Madam, please share the screen.
I have already shared the screen.
No, ma'am, nothing is being displayed. There is an icon, a green colored one, share screen. Please click that.
Yes, I have shared that only. Once again, I will do it. It's already showing that I'm sharing the screen. I'll cancel once again and I'll share once again.
Yes, ma'am, better, ma'am.
Actually, I'm using mobile, so sometimes there could be certain problems. Now you're able to see?
No, madam.
Okay, then I think I will start with the lecture only.
Ma'am, you can post the link in the chat box and we can watch it later on. If possible.
Hello, ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Here it's saying that only the host can share in this meeting. So kindly allow me to share.
Ma'am, actually, just now I made, but as you left, it went. I'll make again.
Okay.
Yeah, I made co-host, ma'am. Now you can share.
Can you see the screen now?
It's not visible, ma'am.
How come it's not visible? It is showing that it is sharing.
I think there is lag.
I'll do one thing. Shall I share the PPT to you and can you scroll it?
Yes,
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 ma'am.
madam.
It's better.
Please.
Because otherwise unnecessarily we'll be wasting the time.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Please watch it.
I'm WhatsApping you. Ma'am, I have WhatsApped you. Pallavi, ma'am.
Yes, madam, I'm checking. Yes, madam, I have received and I'll be sharing it now.
Have you received, ma'am?
Yes, madam, I'm sharing it. Please give me a minute.
Okay, okay. Yes, ma'am, you can scroll.
Yes, madam, please continue.
Yes, ma'am, you can scroll it and you can come to the third or fourth slide, ma'am, because dear students, as you all know that we are going to have a session on the narcotic drugs. As you all know that these narcotic drugs are basically the ones which are abused to a very, very great extent. And our society is facing lot many problems, like there are many young generations who are falling prey to these drugs, knowingly or unknowingly, not knowing about its various causes. If you all need to understand that what actually is drugs of abuse, we need to know various aspects of it, like what are the causes, what are the disadvantages, what are the various kinds of harmful effects which it drugs to the body. So before I go into the narcotic drugs, let me tell you as to what actually is a drug. So a drug is a substance that when ingested is capable of inducing a physiological change. So if any drug, if you take into the body, here drug basically means the medicine, and drug and medicine are being used interchangeably always. So a drug is basically a substance when you are taking into the body, it will be going into your body and it will be producing certain changes. For example, when you feel that there is a headache in your body, basically you take some medicine, and that medicine will go and act on certain receptors and it will show certain effects. You are able to hear? Pallavi, are you able to hear?
Yes, ma'am, we are able to hear you.
Okay, okay. So it will be producing certain effect on the bodies. So if basically you are taking a drug for a headache, it will be relieving. It is basically an analgesic. That is, it will be relieving the pain. Similarly, paracetamol. Paracetamol is an antipyretic drug. So when it is taken, it reduces the temperature of the body. So any drug for that matter, or maybe anything which we are consuming in our day-to-day life, it undergoes certain changes in our body. So study of drug is basically called as pharmacology, and there are two main aspects which will be involved in that, and one is pharmacokinetic and another is the pharmacodynamic. Pharmacokinetic is basically the movement of the drug in and out of the body. That is how the drug is getting absorbed into the body, or how the drug moves into the body, how it gets metabolized and how it gets excreted from the body. And on the other side, when the drug is taken by a particular person, then it produces certain effects. And those effects are being studied as a pharmacodynamic effect. These effects which are produced on the body, they could be harmful effect, they could be beneficial effect, there could be cancerous effects, they could be irreversible, they could be reversible. So there are so many kinds of effects which could be produced by these drugs which are taken by the human beings. And usually these drugs, they are being abused in different forms, like they can be taken orally. Usually they are taken by the process of smoking or by inhalation, okay, or sometimes they might be applied on the skin and all, whereby the absorption can be through the skin. All these drugs which are being abused, they can also be toxic to the body. So these narcotic drugs which are being abused to a very greater extent, they are harmful as such, but when they are consumed to a very great extent, they could also result into the death of a person, and that is basically called as the overdosage or overdosage poisoning. Next slide, please. Pallavi ma'am. So all substances are poisons, and there is none which is not a poison, and the right dose differentiates the poison from a remedy. It was said by Parcels, and very truly. So anything on which is existing on this earth, any substance which is there, it can be toxic to the body, and whether it is toxic to the body or not, it is the dose which it decides. So simple things, that is the salt which we take or the sugar, they themselves also could be toxic to the body if they are taken in a very, very higher quantity. Next slide, please. These are the different examples which you can see. Certain examples like marijuana. Marijuana is the name for the cannabis. Cannabis is a scientific name, and the Indian name is ganja. So these are the drugs which are the most commonly abused all over the world. Then there is a PCP, which is phencyclidine, steroids. These steroids are mainly taken at the time of by the athletes at the time of the games, such like Commonwealth Games or say Olympic Games. They might be taken by the athletes to perform, to enhance their performance. Okay, other drugs like methamphetamine, which can be stimulant, cocaine, which is a stimulant. So like this, there are several kind of drugs which are being abused to a very greater extent by the society. And these are the most commonly abused drugs, which you must be seeing even in the media every time. Next slide, please. So basically, if we see drugs, they are meant to treat or prevent disease, or to elevate pain, or to promote sleep, or to induce any other physiological response. And mainly, as I told you, that they are interchangeably used with the word like medicine. So these terminologies which are there, that is medicine and drug, they are being used simultaneously. So medicine is basically meant for treatment of the body, that is meant for the therapeutic purpose. But when these medicines which are there for the treatment purpose, if they are taken in a large dose, if they are being used for the pleasure purpose, if they are being used for some purposes which they are not meant for, then they are called as drugs of abuse. So these drugs can also be abused. The ones which I have discussed earlier in the slide, they are the ones which are commonly abused. Next slide, please. Now, if you see the word narcotic, this word narcotic, it comes basically from the Greek word that is called as narkitos. And the word, this implies that a state of lethargy or sluggishness. That is, whenever a person consumes this narcotic drugs, there would be a certain laziness in the body. The person feels very sleepy. The person feels very lethargic. The person would not feel like anything. So usually the word narcotic is related to opiate drugs, and these drugs are analgesic, and that is they are pain relieving. They act on the central nervous system and they relieve the pain. So one of the most common important alkaloid of this narcotic drug, that is opium, which is there. From that we get morphine, and morphine is very important analgesic drug. Similarly, if you see the word psychotropic, the word psychotropic is also derived from the Greek word which means psycho, and psycho, which means soul, or trope, meaning turning. So most of these psychotropic substances, they are meant for the treatment of many kinds of mental diseases, or you can say the diseases which are affecting the daily routine, like mental state or health of a person. Like you can say bipolar disorders, schizophrenia, or stress is also one of them. So in the treatment of such kind of diseases, these psychotropic substances might be given, and over a time, sometimes they might lead into addiction, and people might also misuse it and might use it for the poisoning purpose. So basically these drugs are mind altering drugs, we can say, and they also are the ones which diminish the awareness of our sensory impulses. Next slide, please. Next slide. This is the image or paraphernalia which is mainly used by the drug abusers, like syringes, spoons, and the drugs could be in different form like powder, or they can be in the tablet form. Next. So mainly when we speak of the narcotics, these are the narcotic substances. They are basically drugs, and they are also called as controlled substances. So mainly they are the ones which cause dependency. Usually the dependency which can be there, that is of two types. One is called as the physical dependence, and another one is called as the psychological dependence. Physical dependence is one which the body is getting dependent on it. Like it would be showing symptoms like say headache, or say stomach ache, or maybe the body ache. The body feels, it shows certain symptoms. Like for example, everybody is used to taking a tea in the morning, and when it becomes a habit, sometimes, you know, if the person skips tea, then you must have experienced that there is a feeling like they feel that there is a headache. Usually there is no headache, but they feel. So that is called as a psychological dependence. That is, there are no symptoms which are being shown by the body, but there is a sensation that the body is not working properly, or there is some kind of an pain in the body. So that is a psychological dependence. That feeling is psychological dependence. But if there is really a headache, then you can say that is a physical dependence. That is, body has got used to drugs. When the drug, then it becomes a habit, and that habit will lead to addiction. The addiction can be of two types, that is the physical or the you can say psychological dependence. And along with these drugs, there will be certain other symptoms which will be coming, like withdrawal symptoms. Like if the person wants to come out of this drug usage, then the body will start showing certain symptoms, and that are called as withdrawal symptoms. Next slide, please. So usually when these narcotic drugs, when we are speaking of these narcotic drugs, they are basically the controlled substances which have been categorized into different schedules by the government. That is basically the United States. There was a convention which was held for the narcotic drugs and the psychotropic substances, and based on that, they have been put into different schedules, like schedule 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next slide, please. So here you can see that statistics basically in the year 2019, there has the statistics shows that there are many drugs which are being abused at a different level. Mainly their application also in a different fields, like different categories, like opioid are there, stimulants are there, depressants are there, and cannabinoids. And their application is also towards the medical treatment. So the other side, you can see that they are mainly used for most of the psychotic disorders or for the mental health treatment. And among all the statistics, we can say that alcohol, though it is not included under the drugs category, but alcohol is abused to a greater extent. And after the alcohol comes the cannabis. Next slide, please. So basically, you can define drugs of abuse as any substance that is being used by the people for the purpose other than which it has been intended. And narcotic drugs are basically the ones which affect the central nervous system, and they are analgesic in nature. And psychotropic substances are the mood-altering drugs. Next slide. So mainly when you see these narcotic drugs, they can be of three different types. They can be obtained naturally, they can be made synthetically, and there is one more category which is called as a semi-synthetic, which is not completely natural and which is not completely synthetic, and that is called as the semi-synthetic drug. Next slide. Ma'am, next slide. Next slide. So you have a different category of drugs which fall under the natural category, and these are basically the plants which are being obtained. The one which is most common, that is called as a cannabis. Ma'am, you can come to the pictures, because I can go on giving this explanation. So you can come to the pictures so they will have more understanding of how it looks like. So this is basically, you can keep on scrolling, ma'am. I'll let you know when to stop it. Slowly you can scroll it. So this is basically a cannabis plant, you can see, and it has all the parts of the plant are the ones which are, which can be psychoactive in nature. The most common psychoactive component which is present in this plant, it is called as delta-9 THC, that is tetrahydrocannabinol. These are basically terpenoids which are present in the plant. It has also been told that cannabis has got several medicinal properties. So the law which is there or legislation which is there related to these cannabis, they are not very, very uniform in all the countries. You can stop here, ma'am. You can stop here. So these plants which you are seeing, these are basically illegally cultivated. Okay, so they can be seized and they can be sent to the laboratory for examination. Ma'am, you can stop here. This is another form of the cannabis plant which is there. Ma'am, please stop here. So this is the way in which the ganja plant might be seized. Before this, you have seen another slide which was called as the charas. So basically, this plant has got different parts. Like the leafy part is called as the bhang. The resinous part of this plant is called as the charas. The oil also can be obtained, which is sometimes called as the cannabinoid oil. Separate like synthesis is being done, and cannabinoid oil and hashish oil are the different names which are being there. So usually in the market, these kind of narcotic drugs are being sold by the different names. Like as you must have seen in the recent case of Sushant killing case, whereby these drugs were being circulated and there were different names which were being used. So names like weed is the trade name. It is, ma'am, please stop at this slide. So usually the cannabis which you can get can be in different form, like the resinous part, that is hashish, then hashish oil. Marijuana is the term which is used by the Americans, but in India we use the word ganja. And tetrahydrocannabinol is the main active component. So usually if the scientists prove that the tetrahydrocannabinol is present in this particular plant, then it is found, the person who is having who was found to have a possession of these plants would be guilty of it. So therefore, there are different kinds of questions which can be asked by the investigating officers, and mainly it is the proving of the tetrahydrocannabinol becomes very, very important. These are the different forms in which you can see sometimes the cannabis plant being, available in the market. The leaves of it has got serrated edges. Okay, there are very minute hairs which might be present. Here you can see the cigarettes which basically contains tobacco. So tobacco can be sometimes mixed with the cannabis, and therefore it is being smoked by the youngsters. These are the different paraphernalia and the leafy form of it which are being used by the youngsters by a very very greater extent. They are being illegally procured. Okay, they might be available. So there are different kinds of drug traffickers are there. Okay, in different ways, and they use the common names or the street names for these kind of drugs, and they are being taken by the many of the youngsters. Here you can see this is the hashish oil that is which is being found. Like sometimes you can see these forms of the hashish oil being available. Meaning to say that being youngsters in the market, you should be very aware of what actually you are consuming. There are certain do's and don'ts which you should follow. That is, do not fall prey to any of the things which are being given by the unknown people. Do not try to experiment. Do not try to taste anything. Okay, and also be careful to see the labels which you are if you are procuring certain chocolates, if you are procuring certain biscuits, be careful of the labels which are being found. If you find that something has got some excessive cost, do carefully examine them for the content and then go for the consumption. Opium, this is another important narcotic plant, and it is basically the scientific name of it is Papaver somniferum, and usually it is being seized in the different forms. Like usually the plants, illegal plants, if they are cultivated, then they are seized and they are being sent to the laboratory for the examination purpose. The seeds of the opium poppy, everybody is aware, it is called as khaskhas. So here you can see the beautiful plants of poppy, purple color, and here the white color exudate which is coming from the capsule. This green color one is called as a capsule, and the white exudate which is coming out of it is the one which gets oxidized, and that is the basically opium which is collected and it is being sent to the laboratory for the examination purpose. So Afghanistan is basically leading in the opium production, and apart from the Afghanistan, it is the Myanmar. So basically this plant has got two main alkaloids, that is phenanthrene and isoquinoline, and morphine, codeine, thebaine, papaverine, and noscapine. These are the 5 main alkaloids which are present in the opium plants. So whenever they are seized, we need to detect the presence of these alkaloid. We need to detect the presence of the morphine, which is the main content of it. And that presence of the morphine proves that the person is possessing something which is not a legal substance. It is an illegal substance, or it is a controlled substance. And according to the quantity, the punishment is being made. Here you can see how an incision is being made into the capsule. Okay, and they are being incised, and then the exudate which is come, it gets exposed to the sun, and this is how this is a small spatula like instrument, you can say, which is being used by the people to collect the opium, that is the resinous part of it. Once it has got oxidized, that is completely, and it has turned to dark brown in color. So usually the opium which is found, it is very dark brown, blackish in color, tar-like appearance. Very you can see in this image, dark brown tar-like appearance. It has got a very pungent odor, and below you can see this is called as the poppy capsule, which has got dried. So sometimes these dried capsules are also, you can see that they are being illegally circulated, and you might find some people handling these kind of poppy capsules also. So in the laboratory, we also see these kind of poppy capsules. So plants and the poppy capsules, as well as the black tar component, which you have seen in the form of opium, that is being seized by the laboratories. These are the main 5 alkaloids: morphine, codeine, narcotin, papaverine, and thebaine, which are present in opium. And apart from this, there are other alkaloids which are present, but these alkaloids are more important, among which morphine is the one which is more important. And from morphine, we get heroin. So in the semi-synthetic form, you have a drug which is called as the heroin, and heroin is basically obtained from the morphine. Next slide, ma'am. So you have the semi-synthetic drug called heroin. Now heroin is also called as the brown sugar. The street name of heroin is brown sugar. It is smack. The pure form of heroin is white in color, and the impure form of the heroin will be usually brownish to blackish in color, and also sometimes in the form of a tar. So you have heroin, which is also called as a black tar, and there are different street names, as you can see: dope, dragon, black tar. Sometimes the names are being given in the way they produce the effect on the body, and sometimes on the appearance of that particular drug. So here you can see a diagrammatic representation whereby you can see the poppy capsule from which the opium is extracted. From opium, morphine is extracted, and from the morphine, by acetylation, heroin is obtained. So there are many people who are, illegally synthesizing these drugs, and these kind of illegal synthesis of drugs is being found in the laboratories which are called as clandestine laboratories. So in and around your places, if you see some kind of suspicious activity being going on, if you find many people being around in and around your place who are using the big containers, different chemicals, okay, you can report it to the police. And these are the different forms in which you can see heroin can be obtained. That is sometimes ampoules, in the form of ampoules, tablets, and powders. In the previous form, you have seen heroines in different color. So depending upon the impurity which is present, there can be different grades of heroin, and sometimes the geographical profiling of these drugs is also very, very important to find it out how is the process of drug trafficking, because usually these drugs which are being trafficked from one place to another place, okay, they are also coming from different countries, and mainly to harm the economy of a particular country. So you understand that when these drugs are being trafficked, or many youngsters are being abusing these drugs, there would not be proper growth of the country, because the youngsters would be involved in the process of abuse, and they would be not contributing to the development of the country, and therefore the economy of the country comes down. So that is how the modus operandi being followed. So basically these kind of drug trafficking, they will have their own modus operandi, and that also would be studied. And it also sometimes leads to a process of called money laundering, whereby illegal money is in circulation. Nowadays, there is a lot of boom of cyber, and the things have become very, very easy with the advent of these computers coming, e-commerce coming, transactions being taken online. Okay, so now these drugs are maybe less circulated hand to hand, but many of them are directly available on the various sites which are called as dark web or dark net. There is a lot of illegal selling business which is going on these particular sites, and the currencies also which are being used, they are called as cryptocurrencies. So there are so many things which are related to these kinds of drugs of abuse. Coming to a different category which is called as synthetic drugs. Usually these synthetic drugs, they are not obtained from any kind of a plant. They are purely synthesized in the laboratory, and these laboratory, when they are being synthesized, they are into different categories depending upon where they are acting, what effect they are producing on the central nervous system, whether they are depressing the central nervous system like alcohols or sedatives. There can be whether they are activating the central nervous system. For example, when we have tea or coffee, we feel alert. So there are certain categories of drugs which stimulate the central nervous system. They are called as amphetamines, or they are called as methamphetamines. Here you can see different category of a drug which is called as a methaqualone. This kind of drug is very commonly abused in the African countries, and mainly they will be coming through that particular route to various other countries. So sometimes these kind of bottles might be seized. These are the different drug pictures which are mainly related to the, so most of the time they can be in the form of a powder only. They can be white powder, colored powder. So being a chemist, like suppose if you are employed somewhere, and if you are in some FSL, it becomes very difficult for you to examine and conclude as to what kind of a narcotic drug it is, because more or less all the drugs looks to be a powder form, either in white or in any other different form. So these are the different categories which are there in the synthetic drug. That is, the depressants are the ones which depress the central nervous system. Analgesics we have already seen, that is narcotic drugs, opium. Hallucinogens are the drugs which produce hallucinations, like depending upon the senses which we have. Like, for example, some people, when they see certain objects, they see that the snake is crawling, or something is crawling on my body, insects are crawling on my body, or they might say bells are ringing, or something like that. They would be speaking, right? So they are basically the ones which are the hallucinations of touch, hallucination of hearing, hallucination of visual. That is because of the overconsumption of that particular drug. So they are called as hallucinogens. Basically, in the depressants which you are seeing in the present slide, as the history says, it was first the barbiturates which came into picture, and then it is the benzodiazepine drugs which have come. Usually barbiturates are the drugs which are being given for the stress relieving, or say when the person is feeling very kind, not anxiety is there, okay, the person is not getting sleep, okay. So these are the drugs which are being often given, and they are usually in the different tablet form or capsule forms, and different categories are there, like long acting, short acting, very short acting, okay. And these drugs, since they are these are the drugs which are only prescribed, these are prescribed by the doctors, and then only the pharmacist can sell them. So you should also be cautious that if you find these kind of drugs somewhere with some of your friends or like that, you should be very careful that whether are they really being prescribed. You can guide them, okay. And as a student, whenever you come across certain things, you should definitely approach your teachers, you should definitely approach your mentors, okay, for counseling and for guidance purpose and for understanding. And if you find something suspicious, then you should also inform your concerned teachers or the mentors. So this is another drug which is called as cocaine. Cocaine is also basically alkaloid, and it is obtained from the plant which is called as Erythroxylum coca. So as you can see in the picture, these are simply the leaves, and from these leaves the paste is made by adding certain solvents, okay. And then from this, the cocaine which is got, that is called as a coca paste. And cocaine, the way it is being smoked several times, it is being mixed with different alkalis, and it can be available in the salt form also and in the base form also. So based upon that, it is available in different names. And crack is one of the most common street name which is used for these kind of drugs. Cocaine is one of the most costliest drug, you can say, and it is previously it was not found in our country, because of course the problem of drugs of abuse is there in all the countries, but the American countries or the European countries might face this problem more when compared to India. But in India also, now these kind of drugs are venturing inside. That means these drugs are being trafficked to our country also nowadays. So mephedrone or mephedrine, these are also mephedrone and ephedrine, these are also the drugs which might be seized sometimes. And basically now a new category of the drug which is available is coming into the market, which is called as a designer drug. That might sometimes mislead you, and it might certain pictures you might find to be very, very attractive. So those kind of pictures might indicate that it is some kind of a herbal shakes, or maybe nowadays people are searching for some kind of herbal products which might give. So many a times in the herbal products also these kind of psychoactive substances might be added. So usually depressants are the ones which depress the central nervous system, and stimulants are the ones which stimulate the central nervous system, and both of them have got their own effects on the body. Next slide, please. Coming to the next category, that is hallucinogens. In this you have drugs like LSD. This you must have very commonly heard in the TV. that is LSD is lysergic acid diethylamine. It is basically it can be in the form of a blotter paper, which it is received, colorful pictures. So usually seeing those colorful pictures, you will not come to know that what actually it is, but mainly they are the ones which each will be having different squares, and each squares will have different kinds of drugs. So these are the main drugs which produce hallucinogens. There can be these mushrooms also. Usually mushrooms, you should not get confused. The edible mushrooms are separate. Okay, the edible mushrooms are not psychoactive in nature, but there are certain mushrooms which are psychoactive in nature, and they contain the active components like psilocin and psilocybin in them. So sometimes they can also be found in the market. So as the educated customers, we should be very careful while we are seeing certain products in the market. Sometimes these kinds of mushrooms, they can be coated with the chocolates also, and they can be sold into the market. Recently there was a case in Gandhinagar itself. There was a case whereby cookies were being sold, and in the cookies they have mixed the cannabinoid oil. So that is why I'm saying that as a consumer, we should be very careful while purchasing the things which are meant for the consumption purpose. These are the phencyclidine tablets. Usually they are available in the very colorful form, and they are the ones which produce different kinds of effects on the body, mainly the hallucinogenic effect on the body. Next, ma'am. Next. Oxycodone. You have the natural category of drugs which are available, and apart from the natural opiate category, you have the synthetic opiate category which is available, and that is called as oxycodone. So these oxycodones also, they are being, though they are prescribed by the medical practitioners, but still, they are being abused to a greater extent, and they are illegally available into the market. So lot of these drugs are also into circulation into the market. Next, you have in the category which are called as predator drugs, club drugs, human performance drugs, and the inhalant category. So among the predator category, usually these predator category, you can say, are the rohypnol or gamma hydroxybutyric acid, or say flunitrazepam. These are basically called as date rape drugs. That is usually there are certain drugs which are taken in the club parties or in the rave parties. These are also called as club drugs because they are also seized in the club, so therefore the name has been given accordingly. So usually these drugs are being taken by the alcohol, and when they are taken by the alcohol, there are different kinds of effects which can be produced. Mainly you can see effects like synergism, whereby the effect is much higher when a drug is taken individually. So most of the time these drugs are being abused along with the alcohol, and the person does not remember the episodes which have taken place, because not lot of study has been done related to the club regarding to their pharmacology, or say the pharmacokinetic effects, or their half-life which is there. So usually these drugs get metabolized very easily in the body, and therefore their half-life might be too short, and they do not get detected in the biological fluid. So when they are not getting detected in the biological fluid, the person might not be punished or might not be found guilty for a particular drug. So there are many disadvantages. So therefore these kind of drugs also might be very commonly found in certain parties like rave parties and all. Moreover, there are certain nicotine flavors also which are being available, and people are smoking these nicotine flavors which are also called as they are also called there are also hookah bars. So in such kind of hookah bars, there are different kinds of nicotine flavors which are being sold. So they also might contain these kind of drugs of abuse. Of course, the government of India has banned the hookah bars, and no longer these hookah bars are being allowed to open or run such kind of activities in the restaurants and all. MDMA, it is basically called as an ecstasy drug, and in the street name, the most commonly referred drug, which is also called as a Molly. It has also got a lot of advanced, you can say, side effects which are there. With that is like palpitation can be here, uneasiness can be there, and they are available in, you can see, in the different colored form. So usually the person who is seizing, that is the law enforcement agencies, they also do not have much idea that this could be a narcotic drug. So they can be, they are available in different colorful forms, and therefore there are also certain marks on them which are the characteristic feature of them. But as a consumer, we should be more aware of the products. I am repeatedly telling that the products which we are taking, we should be more aware of them, and that is how we can avoid them, or we will not fall to them unknowingly. So coming to the another category, that is a human performance drugs. As I have told you, that is another category that is called as doping drugs. These drugs also include narcotic drugs and the anabolic steroids. These drugs are mainly taken to enhance the performance during their sports activity, and sometimes these are also being seized and sent to the lab for the examination. So these are again the different categories whereby, the testing is important, and we also need to make people aware that these kind of drugs are not supposed to be taken by the sports person. Of course, inhalants do not come under the drugs of abuse, or it does not come under the narcotic category. But usually, a very, very lower class, they might use these kind of inhalants, and they might abuse it, abuse them. So it is just to show you, or to let you know, that these kind of inhalants can also be abused by the many youngsters, and we should be aware of these kind of illegal things which are available in the market, and we should not fall prey to them. Next. So I think we have covered most of the narcotic drugs. This is basically the classification which I told you earlier, that in United Nations there was a convention which was held, and most of the countries would be meeting to discuss the different drug trafficking issues, the crime related issues, the various analysis and testing related issues, and therefore they categorize drugs into the different schedules depending upon how they are being abused. So they have been put under the schedule 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The schedule 1 drug which is there, that will be the drug which is highly abused and which has got no medical application. And similarly, as we are moving from schedule 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when you come to the schedule 5, it would have lot of medical application, but also it is being abused to a certain extent. So from time to time, the researchers, the scientists, they have to do a lot of research, and they have to notify the government that these kind of drugs are now available in the market, and they need to be put under the scheduled category, so that the relevant punishment can be imparted to the people who are caught with the illegal possession, or who are involved in the illegal import, transport of these kind of drugs. This is another category of drug which is called as benzodiazepine. I am sorry, actually the time was too short, so I could not make a PPT specifically for your group. So it is a PPT which I am usually referring for my training purpose. So that is why most of the pictures which are there, which you are seeing, they are mainly for the law enforcement agency people to understand. So these are the drugs under the benzodiazepine categories which are being received to a greater extent. Diazepam is the drug which all of you must be knowing very commonly. That is also, the trade name is called as Valium. It is given to the people who are suffering from stress and not able to feel sleepy, or who are having the problem of anxiety. Okay, so they are being given. So these are the drugs which are also being received in the laboratory very commonly by the law enforcement agencies. Next. Ma'am, next. Yeah, here you can see these pictures which you are seeing. These are basically the pictures of LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide. These are the cactus plants. These are called also as mescal buttons, and they are psychoactive in nature. Usually, you must have seen cactus plants which are grown, but they might not be psychoactive in nature. But these ones which are called as mescal buttons, they are psychoactive in nature, and they can be also powdered. Like the cactus plant can be taken, it can be dried, and it can be powdered, and therefore it can be made in the form of a tablet, and it can be sold. So that is how you can see the picture which is there in orange and green on the other side. These are the pictures of the different benzodiazepines. You can see Valium. Okay, and usually they are available in low concentration. And in India, the law which is being used for the narcotic drugs, it is the mainly Narcotic Drugs and the Psychotropic Substance Act 1985. So basically in this act, there are different chapters who are dealing with the what are called narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances, regarding their possession, regarding their import, export, and the punishment to be given depending upon the quantity which has been found in possession with the people. So basically, this act which is there, it is very, very important for the people to understand about the different legal aspects relating to the narcotic drugs. Next slide, ma'am. Here you can see Narcotics Control Bureau. Narcotics Control Bureau is the nodal agency which is mainly responsible for most of the seizures which are related to the narcotic drugs. And these law enforcement agencies, they will transfer, they would send the samples to the forensic science laboratories for the testing purpose. And with all the reports which come and the investigation details which they come, further the court trial goes on and the judgment is given. With this, I come to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for your patience hearing. And if you have any questions, then you can ask me.
Participants, please post it in the chat box.
Or you can read the questions, okay? Because I'm using in mobile, so sometimes I am not able to see certain things.
Yes, ma'am, of course.
Ma'am, are there any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, shall I call for vote of thanks?
Pallavi, there is one question. You just read that question.
Yeah.
Yeah, See, tea is the basic, beverage which is taken. It is, there are two kinds of beverages, alcoholic and non-alcoholic, and it is not an alcoholic beverage. So, tea has got its own, effect on the body. It contains a little bit of caffeine and theophylline. So mainly you can say it is like any other in any other kind of beverage which is being taken. So I can only suggest that anything which is consumed to a very greater extent can be harmful to our body. So if you take tea once or twice a day, that definitely it's not going to affect your body. Okay. It is not the one which is related to drugs of abuse.
That's it, participants. Any more queries? Okay, now
Hello.
yes,
Hello.
sir.
Even Jyoti madam or Pallavi,
Sir.
just some remarks I want to pass.
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
And, while thanking Dr. Astha Pandey to have given us a very good lecture for the occasion of Anti-Narcotics Day. It has covered almost all areas which are required to be learnt in this particular program. And I congratulate Astha Pandey for having mastered this subject, which is of great satisfaction for me, especially. And here is an example of Dr. Astha Pandey, who was operating while she was in Osmania University Forensic Science Department, mostly in the biology. And she was more interested in doing research in biology. But as the circumstances would have, she has shifted to chemistry, and it is what we call the sorry. The thing is, she has shifted after almost 7-8 years working in biology chemistry, and here is a person who has shifted to chemistry, and we can see that how faculties can be developed in an human being. So she completely shifted to chemistry, and she has been able to show expertise in that area and picked up very fast, and has established herself as a sort of authority in that particular field. And the presentation was very nice, and it covered the program for Anti-Narcotics Day in a very good way, not making it very highly technical and chemistry oriented, but it covered almost all the aspects of the narcotic abuse. So I congratulate her, and also congratulate the college to having organized this program with Astha Pandey, who was my associate in Hyderabad so many years, formative years. And I wonder how she has shifted from one area to the other area. So that is the human intelligence and human perseverance through which you can master any area which you choose. So, as it is forensic science is a multidisciplinary subject. So people have expertise in different areas, but one has to master in a particular subdiscipline of forensic science. So He's a good biologist, as I have known her here, and now she has turned to be a good chemist as well. So congratulations to her once again, and I thank her for giving her valuable time, and thank Reddy College for giving her an opportunity and allowing me to associate with this program. Thank you so
Thank you,
It's
sir.
a privilege to have you here, sir.
Ma'am, I would like to say something.
Yes, ma'am, please.
I'm really very thankful to Buggy sir, and I'm extremely grateful to Buggy sir, and it is all his blessings and guidance all throughout the year, right from the time when I have joined Usmania University till date, that he has been guiding me in all ways and means, in spite of his constraints for his age and everything. So he is such a wonderful person, and he has got extensive inquisitiveness. Still he is having an inquisitiveness just like a child, to each day to learn, and that is what is encouraging for us as a faculty. So thank you so much, sir, for giving me this opportunity, and I would also like to thank once again Reddy College principal ma'am and head ma'am, and of course Pallavi ma'am for coordinating with me. Thank you so much.
I invite Ms. Premika to propose vote of thanks. Premika? Premika, can you hear me? Okay, I think she has some network issue. Let me continue the same. I am Pallavi, assistant professor in forensic science, RBVRR Women's College. I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to Dr. Astha Pandey Madam, associate professor and in charge of Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Cell, National Forensic Science University, Gandhinagar, Gujarat. Madam, it's indeed a pleasure proposing a vote of thanks to you. Initially, your talk has revolved around the basics, that is the introduction, classification, and we are very much we are immensely benefited with your talk, madam. We are really thankful for accepting it, as though it is a holiday. In spite of your busy schedule, in short notice, you have accepted it, madam. We are very much thankful for your support. And please do accept this appreciation certificate from our principal and head, Dr. Jeevan Jyoti, madam.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's a pleasure for me.
So participants, there will be a link posted in the chat box, so which has feedback and also the quiz. So if you score 50% in quiz, that is whatever the madam has explained. If you score minimum of 50%, then only you will be getting the certificate. So I'll be posting the link. So please do attempt this.